Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic, or let me get in the camera. Bro, where's the camera? Oi. I don't even know. Barry, this is tripping me out. Oh, over there? Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
far
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It was, another Mind the Mic podcast here with a very special guest. I don't know if he's special or I'm special. No, no, but we're here with an NRL vet, a legend of the game, premiership winner with the Penrith Panthers, and sad to say against his old team, my favorite team of all teams of all sports, against the Warriors in 2011, the Manly Sea Eagles as well. A veteran of over 200 games, NRL games, couple tests for Samoa, couple tests for the Kiwis too. Joe Galuvao, Marole Soifua also. Wa mai oi.
Nah,
It's good,
yeah, all
cuz.
good. Yeah, no, good. Thank you. I'll tell you. I don't know.
No, but I mean, for anybody else that doesn't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of where you're from, all that good stuff?
Yeah,
Grew
Joe
up.
Galuvao, from the south of Auckland. Grew up in Manurewa. So yeah, just a kid from South Auckland. So didn't hold it against me, but yeah, it's yeah, born and raised in Auckland, and yeah, married, got two beautiful kids. Obviously, a wonderful wife. Celebrated 25 years married last year, and
Woo.
yeah,
What's
we
the
got
secret? 25
it's,
years. What's the secret?
she's always right. That's the secret. So.
That's it. Let's go.
Yeah, and yeah, we've got a 9-month-old little granddaughter. So yeah, so that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so loving life, man. So living the dream, as they say. So.
Yeah. What's that like? Transitioning from father to grandfather. What's because I heard it's a different love, eh?
Yeah, it's different love. Like, she's literally just taken over our whole lives. And, it's like you get to love your kids again, but
Oh,
without the
okay.
discipline. That's how I see it. Without the discipline, because again, when you're raising your own kids, right? Like, there's the worry, there's the discipline, there's, all that. Like, and I guess that's what makes it, again, raising kids the hardest, rewarding job in the world. But then when your grandkids come along, you got none of that responsibility other than just purely loving them, And I think that's the difference. And again, for me, like it's like I'm raising my kids again, understanding or knowing that feeling again. Because when they're adults, like you didn't even remember what it was like when they were kids, So
Yeah.
yeah, and then when that little face is looking at you, and it kind of triggers things. Oh, remember when my daughter was this or my son was this, and all those memories flood back. And but yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. The way I explain it to people is like I can't stop thinking of her. So that's
Wow.
yeah, that's
That's beautiful,
like,
brother.
yeah. So
That's beautiful. I think, and even in that, like just from obviously, I can't speak from experience, but by listening to you and others who have progressed to be grandparents and have the kind of love that you're speaking of, I think you grow as you've grown like the person you were when you had your child
yeah,
is not the person you are today. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
obviously morally, probably, but
yeah,
hopefully you've
yeah.
grown in that time too.
No,
So
100%.
probably
No, you're totally right. Yeah.
yeah, like probably appreciate it more, like understanding, as we grow older, our we lose more loved ones and whatever, through just
Yeah,
life. That's what
yeah,
happens. So maybe learn
yeah.
to cherish things a little bit more as well. That could be part of the perspective, possibly. I don't know,
Yeah,
just ranting.
yeah. No, 100%. Like, I'm a totally different person when I was in my 20s into my 30s and in my 40s now, and like
Yeah.
that's their journey. And, again, as you mentioned, you mature, you grow up, you don't worry about things that you used to worry about, I mean, things and that. So, and again, and the older you get, I guess, you cherish things a bit more, and the
Yeah.
focus becomes narrower and in terms of what the things that are important, and majority of the time is your family. So.
Solid. So what was it like a young fella growing up in Manurewa, a young Samoan boy?
No, it was good. Yeah, it was interesting. People that know about Manurewa or REWA, as it's officially called. It's
Yeah.
there's a saying that life is hard, but REWA's harder. So no, it was just like obviously it was a rough area. But for us, it was home, and
Yeah.
just knock about with your friends, and just doing stupid stuff, and you know, things like you do obviously as a teenager. But you know, I loved it growing up there. You know, it was a, you know, a real family community orientated community.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of
You know,
ainga in the hood? Was there a lot of family around
yeah,
you at
yeah,
the time?
yeah. It's like or within South Auckland, so out in Mangere and
Yeah.
you know out west, and you know, so you got your family all around you, and so yeah, it was yeah, I loved it. You know, my childhood and my teens, you know, it was awesome, great REWA, and you know, obviously despite you know the perceptions of what people thought South Auckland, you know, and like you know, for us, like we didn't know any better, you know, you just like I said, you just living life and
Yeah.
you know, playing footy and all that type of stuff. So
No, awesome, brother. Shout out to REWA. Where was the best bakery when you were a kid? Was Clendon the one, or was there another
Clendon,
spot
man,
for you?
nah,
Clendon.
Clendon, man. Oh man, if you're there watching, shout out. We live for after school because they had the $3 special. So you know, $5 box.
Yeah,
You
what did
know,
you get
again.
for a $3 spot special? What was that?
Oh man, man, just boy, the selling lines, like you know, cream donuts. You know, like we used to change it up. You know, either get you know, obviously all the you know sweet stuff, or then next day it's getting all the pie, sausage rolls, all that type of stuff. So bacon egg
Yeah.
rolls, you know, pizza stick. Oh,
Yeah. It's girls. And so growing up there, you play a lot of rugby league growing up, or did you like, or were you a rugby kid and ended up playing league? Like, how did it work for you?
yeah. But before I moved up to Rewa, I spent some of my childhood in Ellerslie, where
Oh, okay.
I did a lot of did my primary schooling there, Ellerslie Primary. So before we moved out south, so I kind of grew up playing rugby. So the Maris Rugby
Yeah.
Club, you know, so that's where I kind of played rugby, and then obviously moved out to Weymouth or Rewa,
Mm.
and you know, and I kind of I guess sport kind of took a back seat. You know, you know, kind of new kid in town. You know, you don't know anyone. So you know, there's probably a few years there. I was just kind of you know a bit like I said, sport wasn't that important. And then
Yeah.
you know, once I got my friends, got my friends, and a lot of them were playing rugby league. And then like at lunchtime, you know, we were playing league on the you know on the field, you know. So you know
Yeah.
that kind of from there, that's kind of where the interest grew. And yeah, and I think I
Is
probably
so is this high school JC? Is it?
I was intermediate, so I was at
Oh,
Weymouth
intermediate. Yeah.
Intermediate. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, so I don't know what it's called now. It's got a different name now, but
Yeah.
so yeah, around that 12, 13, I started getting interest in league, just playing it at like at lunchtime. And
Oh,
I think
okay.
once
So
I
not even
yeah,
Marlins or anything.
no, not at the time. And then I probably oh yeah, I can't remember. Man, I can't remember things 5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
let alone all those years ago. Yeah, I just yeah, I think once I hit high school, you know, then like one of my best friends, you know, his old man was the coach at Marlins, and you know, told me, hey, come down, and so he used to pack into his little red little Ford, you know, little
Yeah.
bomb, and you know, and he used to take us to training. That and I had some really, yeah, they're probably one of the best memories I have about you know playing rugby league, you know, because it's you just do it for fun, doing
Yeah.
it with your friends, you know, like, and it's, you know for those that know Rewa, like training, especially if you're training out at, you know, at the club rooms there, like, you know, especially when it rains, you know, like, well, it's just man, it's just a mosh pit there. So, and then
Were there any
go
guns there else that like that you played with in like through the grades or anything in the Marlins?
at the Marlins,
Yeah, like, I guess there would have been guns that maybe didn't kick on, but any that like kicked on at all?
um, well, within my team, um, I'm just trying to remember, like a lot of us that play rep teams together, you know, and,
Okay, yeah. Like,
so one of my best friends, like Yele Filippo, so you know, he's probably like for us at the time, you know, he was that guy that we all kind of looked up to, and
yeah,
you know, he was took a long brother, and then there's heaps of guys, and then guys that I played against as well. So he like the Monty Beethams, and
oh yeah,
you
one.
know, yeah, and you know our late brother Taisavea, you know, he was like man, he was could have been anything, you know, and unfortunately he passed away. You know, when we were young, so I didn't progress through, and then yeah, like Then you got your Ali Lautitis, your David Solomonos,
Whip.
you know, like, you know, you got all these guys. Then obviously, you know, when you start beginning with these rep teams, you know, playing against the Pulitzer boys, you know, Frank and Tony, and
so you met those boys. You met those boys early days, then, eh? Even way before you met before Penrith.
Yeah. So we came through reps together, played junior Kiwis together. So, so when I did move to Penrith, like it was like I knew, you know, it was comfortable in going there because just the relationship.
Oh, that made it easier.
Yeah, definitely made it easier. You know, so,
yeah, solid. I heard Tony's a bit of one of the funniest fellows alive. Scotty Sattler reckons, your old teammate. He reckons old Tony's one of the funniest fellows alive. Is that real or what?
Yeah, he's pretty funny, man. Like, he's one of those guys who just you know, does pranks and just something. We'll be playing a game in the middle of a game, and then so he's just saying some, you know, stupid stuff in the middle of the game, and we're just cracking up laughing. And like, I don't know if everyone plays that game, or you know, you show.
Those ones, those ones,
He's literally running off the field, and we're there on the bench, and he does that. And he goes, "Yeah, got him." You know, it's honestly so just stuff like that. You know, and then, you know, Frank's no better. His brothers, you know, so those two. You know, and like, you know, and that's the island humor, right? You know, you just man, you're serious, but within all the chaos or the seriousness or footy or whatever it is, man, you always manage to laugh somewhere, you know. And so I definitely concur with Sats's, you know, in regards to Tony's being a funny dude. So.
Yeah, no, that's good. So how at what age do you go from, you know, playing with these rep teams with all these you know, seem to be legends in the sport to, you know, playing fullback for the Warriors? Yeah. You're the fullbackers.
Oh, I know, far out, man. I didn't start as fullback, ended as a front row, so I don't know. So I call it promotion, you know.
You're the promotion, eh?
Yeah,
that's it.
Just
following Rubes, our centre to front row.
Yeah, that's right, man. I always got a Rubes, you know, like he was my example, you know. So no, I think we're making all our Auckland rep sides, and then in '95, you know, that was the turning point because that's when the Warriors came into the competition. And again, I was actually on Monty Beetham's Once a Warrior.
That's a good show.
Yeah, I was talking to him about it, and I was saying, listen, you know, if it weren't for the Warriors, you know, we're not sitting here today. You know, we're not. I'm not here on this pod, you know, on this potty with you. You know, and I think that's, you know, that's how much the Warriors, you know, for, you know, rugby league as a whole, you know, the Benji Marshalls, like all these guys, like the doors that have opened to, you know, and the doors that open to, like Australia had opened to New Zealand, you know, and like you think about, you know, all the players that are playing in the game now. So you know, so for me, like that in itself, like, you know, was like a life-changing, you know, for a lot of us, you know. And you know, we never, like I said, we just watched Winfield Cup, you know, on TV. And all of a sudden, what Warriors? And then so just from there, that's when we kind of were probably the first group of that era of kids coming through that pathway system.
Yeah. And so how old are you at this stage, brother, when the Warriors actually when they debut in the comps?
17.
But that must be inspiring, then, to see like fucking on TV and fucking wow, look at this. This is
just going to training, like, and then, you know, and then just you rub your shoulders with like the Steve McKerneys, you know, the Dennis Betts, you know, like the Tony Tumabaves, you know, the Tony Tatupus, like, you know, you rub your shoulders with these guys, Tiro Party, you know, like, man, and then all the other guns coming up, like your Brian Hernandez, like, you know, all these guys, you know, that, and you watch, you know, watch it in your juniors, like, it was just, you know, such a surreal, you know, time, you know, especially if you're coming through, you know, at that time, like, and now it's like, it's just, you know, it's like just part of the system now, but you know, you think about at that time, man, like, it was just kind of like, what the hell's going on here, you know?
The foundation stones to where you are now. Like, do you still work in the game now?
Yeah, still work. in the game. So
yeah, well, again, like you said, not only will you be on the podcast, you might be a
yes,
migration officer instead, or
yeah,
like we just talking about that. Who knows what you
nah,
could, what else you would have been up to?
yeah,
Maybe an All Black course. Who knows?
yeah. And as I mentioned, like if it wasn't for the Warriors, like all these things you mentioned, I would have probably had the opportunity to do the things that I've done and continue to do. And I'm so grateful for rugby league. And probably even on one at a deeper level. And I've said this multiple times that rugby league saved me. Growing up in REWA, in South Auckland, obviously it's a rough neighborhood. I could have gone any way. I could have, I was got into trouble as a kid. Just doing all obviously things that at the time wasn't good, especially if you're an aspiring rugby league player. Going out to parties, drinking, getting into fights, and like all that type of stuff. And I didn't really have direction as well. But what sport or rugby league specifically done, it put good people in front of me. It gave me a sense of direction. It gave me good people around that challenged me. Challenged my thinking. Challenged my mindset. Like hey, if you continue down this pathway, make the choices that that you're going to make. You're not going to go very far. In rugby league, let alone life. So I guess for me, grateful for the Warriors, but rugby league as a whole, I'm so grateful for it. So
Yeah, for sure, brother. So you you're you were like one of the first in the pathway system amongst that bunch.
yeah,
And then what 98 you get to make your debut, brother. What's that like?
yeah, it was amazing. As you mentioned, or as I mentioned, like you go from just watching rugby league on TV, to and then coming through pathways, and you're putting in all the hard work, you're all the sacrifice, all the things that you want to do, or your dreams that that you're trying to aspire to, to make come true. In that moment, like all that, like it's like all the stars aligned, and you get to run out of that field,
Yeah.
And it was just amazing, and for me it was it's just not me that I was representing. It's like, man, it's all my friends, it's all my family,
Yeah.
that did all the sacrifice and support,
How did they let you know? How did they let you know that you're gonna debut? Like how does that? Do you remember that moment, or was it? Because some people
I
say,
think,
"Oh, it was a blur."
yeah, it definitely was a blur. Like I was mentioning it to Bonte on his show, I don't know, like coach came in, and I remember saying, "Hey," but the funny thing was, I remember saying, "Hey, you're gonna make your debut," and I was going, "Oh man," I was so pumped. But then he goes, "But you're gonna replace Matthew Ridge at fullback," and I'm going, because even though I had played reps
Yeah.
at fullback, but actually that year I was playing centre, and and so I was going, well, I haven't played fullback in ages, so and I guess credit to Frank Endicott at the time, just kind of took a gamble on a young Samoan kid, and so yeah, that's pretty much kind of like how I remember it, and
Yeah.
and then obviously made, and there's for me, like the only thing that I was thinking about, obviously, running out, and that the moment you run out, you obviously you envision that, but the one thing that I was, if there was one thing I was actually really thinking about, it was the first bomb.
High ball seekers.
Oh
Oh
man, I
no.
was going. Those ones, you just go, you catch it, you just go, you just go, wow, please don't stop up, and lucky, lucky I caught the ball, and
Who was the kicker? Who was kicking? Do you remember that or no?
yeah, I don't know, who it was, but
Yeah.
like I said, I caught it literally on my fingertips, and like,
Yeah.
man. And I remember that week too, going into that game when I was doing a million, catches, just trying to, replicate, or duplicate, sorry, that moment as much as you can, just to practice it. So I was just happy that I caught the footy, and then the rest was history. So
Yeah, well done. Well done, man. Because I can imagine, yeah, as soon as you said fullback, like as soon as you spoke on there, there's one thing on my mind. I was thinking it's probably those high balls, cuz.
I know. Oh
Hey.
man. Yeah.
No, well done, brother. Well done. But you end up playing 27 games for the Warriors or something like that, eh?
Yeah.
What's your biggest takeaway besides what you spoke on with the Warriors, and what's the biggest takeaway from your time at the Warriors just as a player? Like besides what you've already spoken on, that you wouldn't be here, of course, like that.
I guess one thing that when I think about the Warriors, it actually wasn't my best time. Even though I made my debut there, and a lot of it, when you come into grade, like I said, we had no reference in terms of, well, I didn't have any reference of what it meant to be a professional rugby league player, and that, I guess, the current, cohort of pathways players coming through, you get educated, and, there's, workshops on, mindset and, discipline. Like
Yep.
we had nothing like that, it was just kind of like fend for yourself, like,
Yeah.
and so for me, like, I had, no one taught me how to be a professional rugby league player, and I guess the consequence of that was that I just thought that I could still, I had the talent, but the one thing I didn't have was the discipline to sustain it, and for me, and again, I was just a kid. I was 18, 19 years old, like, and in my mind, I thought I could still just, party or just live my talent. And especially when I made my debut, I think I can't, if I'm being honest, I got caught up in my own hype, and
Yeah, as you would be hard
yeah,
not to,
nah,
cuz 18,
yeah,
19 years
and
old. Again, I just caught my first bomb, cuz I'm playing fullback for Matthew Ridge. I'm the
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that, yeah, and it was all that, and but like I just didn't have the character to sustain it, and like and then all of a sudden, like, again, those little things, started creeping into, my life and my training, just not turning up or not doing my extras, and putting on weight, and like all these things. And I remember, like, Stephen Kearney's, the late Quinton Pongia. I remember, Q
Yeah.
especially. I remember, like, man, the other man pulled me aside and goes, I don't know if coach put it up, put him up to it, but he came up to me, remember, and it's probably one of the best advice. He goes, listen, if you don't, start looking after the 1%ers in your life, the little things, coming to training early, like, man, it's still going to go, you're not going to have a career for long. And
True.
and there's one thing, one thing I'm so grateful for. Then when Q passed away, I did a post because, those words later on in my career, it started resonating, and again, like, this is that journey you're on as a, a player, a human, let alone a player, and so those, that time at the Warriors, yes, it was a great high. But again, I think what it did highlight to me was just my immaturity and
Yep.
the lack of, discipline on my behalf. And, I pretty much self-sabotaged my own career, and it got to the point where, man, it was that they didn't want me anymore. And
Oh,
that's
that's why you
like,
left. That's why you left us. They just didn't.
yeah, I
Oh.
was, through all the restructuring when Tainui bought took over the club, and
Yeah.
Daniel Anderson, coming in as coach, I was kind of part of that fallout. And
Oh.
again, and I'm not going to blame anyone other than myself, at that time. And so, part of that was I was kind of on the my career was on the lifeline, and
Yeah. So how does it
like,
work, brother? To get oh, actually, before you do, you said a couple of cool names, Quinton Pongia and Stephen Kearney. What were they like because there's a great Kiwi greats there. What were
yeah.
they like as human beings and as players, or what? Obviously, you spoke on what Quinton did for your career later on
Mm.
as well throughout, but
But they were just, to me, they were like, again, that reference point of what it means to be an ultimate professional, like,
okay.
and along, alongside them being good people too, but, and and again, in my head, I just think, it was, again, whether it be my ego saying, oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about, or you know, or on the other end was like, you know, the bar was too high. You know, I was going, man, I'm not going to be like that. You know, like
yeah.
You know, so you know, like, and that was, you know, but it was their example. You know, and I remember, man, I'll get off the field, man, I'll run into the change room, get changed as quick as I could. You know, man, and try and get out of training. You know, and we're on my way running out. Man, these guys are stretching, you know, like,
True.
you know, doing all this other stuff, you know, and I'm just going, oh, but again, I had no concept at the time, you know, I had no reference to what it meant to be a professional, other than those guys, you know, and again, it wasn't until later on in my career where I realized, oh man, what these guys are actually saying is actually true, you know, and sometimes, you know, you have to go through some adversity in order to realize that, and you know, you learn your biggest lessons, you know, through the hard times, you know, and unfortunately for me, you know, that was the case, and that's kind of how, you know, that next chapter in going over, coming over to Australia, and then, you know, signing with Penrith kind of came about.
Yeah, so what's the good? Do your manager picks up the phone, or Tony picks up the phone? How does it work?
Well, I had no manager at the time, and one thing too, I guess on the side note, you know, being part of the professional environment, you know, it was the one thing too that I had no clue about was all the off-field stuff, like player managers and contracts, and you know, these things, like, man, and there were a lot of, you know, wolves in sheep's clothing at the time, you know, and you know, I don't know who was managing me at the time, but you know, just, you know, whether it be, you know, the Warriors, you know, the new shiny toy, and yeah, everyone kind of goes towards it, you know, and you as well, you know, you're the young kid coming through, you know, the next gun, you know, and so everyone wants a piece of that, and then I had no clue, I had no, like, you know, I was naive to think that, you know, my player manager will look after all that type of stuff, and but then, you know, I was kind of left on the lurch, and it goes back to my point about, you know, I was part of that fallout with, you know, when Tony took over, and you know, just the miscommunication or the lack of support that I was getting from my player agent at the time.
Did he take your cash too, brother? Or was he like a bit of Elijah Taylor one, or nah, not that bad?
Listen, like I said, I probably, you know, like I said, I was naive, you know, man, I was just, all I could see was money coming into my account. Like, I didn't question, where, you know, like, you know, he used to say that, you know, and he was siphoning, you know, money to his, you know, investment property in wherever, in Bali or something, you know. So,
far out.
Yeah, but like I said, like that's all on me. And again, like I said, but it goes back to my point about, like, I just had no clue, you know. And that's,
I get it.
and so I was, you know, left stranded playing the barter card at the time. You know, I was playing back at REWA. So I was back at REWA, you know, and you know, I was embarrassed, you know, like, you know, to, you know, because, you know, I was pretty much throwing my career away, you know, and by doing all this stupid stuff, and you know, not playing to my potential. And but lucky enough, you know, playing a barter card, that I, you know, caught the eye of one of the recruitment officers there, head of recruitment at the time. His name is Peter Mulholland. He's no longer with us, Scalzi. So so from there, you know, he pretty much came out to me after a game. I remember we played Mount Albert. I think we played them over there, and you know, I played relatively well. And he just came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, you know, love to give you an opportunity to come to Penrith. You know, it's not much. It's a trainer trial, you know, and like, yeah, love to, you know, see what you can do." And that's kind of pretty much how that started. And I've never lived outside of South Auckland. You know?
So what's that like, brother? Boy from South Auckland going to the west of Sydney?
You know, but you know, man, it was a culture shock, let me tell you that, you know. And one thing that people didn't tell me about, I wish they told me earlier, was just how hot it was, like, in summer.
True. Especially pre-season.
But you go from Auckland, it's probably like, you know, 10 degrees raining, and then you jump on the plane, and then remember stepping into Sydney, and I'm going, oh, this is a bit warm here. And then, man, you drive, you know, 45 minutes out to Penrith, and you know, it's, you know, if you live out if you live out in Penrith and if everyone's who's from the west, man, it's usually 6 degrees hotter out there, in summer, So I remember me, my wife and my daughter, who was a baby at the time, stepping out, man, it was so hot, and man, it was like, where are we, and it was just a different world. Like, I'm used to green and trees, and then you come out to Penrith in summer, it's like brown and like, man, it's like a desert, and it's just, man, the heat is, it's crazy. And so that, and on top of that, like, we had no family around us, so we were very isolated. I think my wife at the time, for the first month or first year that we were in Sydney, she probably spent 7 months of that year, like, back home in Auckland, because
true that too hot,
well, too hot, like miss her family, and like,
of course,
and and obviously we had baby, our daughter at the time, so she's trying to raise her and just find her own feet, and like no one around, I'm at training, so like that for her was tough, and it was a very tough 3 years, and just again having to start again, having to get new friendship groups and new support systems around you. And again, we were lucky enough to have Tony and Frank there, and they introduced us to friends, and then we started from scratch, and it wasn't easy, and like we just missed home, and like I'm a family person, I miss my family, and so and it was a massive sacrifice, but for me it was like I said like, this is my last opportunity, this is my last throw of the dice, like and for me, I just didn't want to live with regret, and I could have easily taken the easy road and just said, oh no, I'm not gonna go, I'm just gonna stay here and play by the card, and and just make a go of it, but I guess for me at the time, like, it was one of the best decisions that I made in terms of not only my career but also my mindset. Being away from the bubble that is Auckland, it made me like, man, it was sink or swim. You had to fend for yourself. You had to grow up. You had to, the things that I used to worry about. I was, very insecure in my footy. Comparing myself to other people, and so a lot of that, once you're in, like, in that, in that situation that you're facing some adversity, it really challenges your thinking, challenges your mindset. And so for me, that's that was the best thing for me, and that there was no, and I mentioned it earlier, like, I could only have learned that in adversity. I could have only learned that in that time that I was there, because because it actually taught me, it actually showed me the real me. Is that whole man in the mirror, like, hey, look at, man, you continue thinking this way, you continue making these decisions for yourself, like, you reap what you sow, the good book says, and so for me, that's pretty much what was happening.
Was there you speak on that, the man in the mirror, was that like over time you had that man in the mirror, like you just kept, or was there an actual, like, a day you can remember that, like, you actually looked at yourself and said, bro, like, this isn't it, cuz, like, we're here to, because I just think of, like, for example, different, but Spanian, right? Spanian changed his life around, and trying to do better, but there was a moment where he looked at himself as a junkie and he said, bro, I'm not doing this anymore, like, no. And since that day years ago, he's never touched another drug since. Like, he was in jail still at the time, but he went clean, and like that's what I think of, like, something. Was there a moment like that you can remember, or was it just like over time you just kept?
Well, I think it was actually when I was in New Zealand. Like I said, I was embarrassed. Like, and I was
Okay, it was from there.
Like, is this it? Like, is this, like, man, I'm going to be the, I'm going to be that, 40-year-old, and that sings the shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
I would have been the man. I would have been the man, cuz.
Monty B for life, smashed them. Like, and I just didn't want to be that, and like, and it was a slow burn to change that. But I remember also too when I went to Penrith, and I kind of talked about, just this comparison mentality that I had, and there's a saying that says, comparison is the enemy of contentment, and that, and that's, I was just, when you're comparing yourself, you can't be content in who you are, and you can't actually look at things that your strengths, So for me, I remember I was sitting I was warming up on the bike, and I was in the gym, and I was just watching the boys, kick around. A young Luke Lewis at the time. He was just this young buck coming through, and then Luke Rooney, and then we had Luke Predis there, and I was just watching
a young winger, 2 acres, a young winger.
Young winger, man. He was like, and he made his debut when he was like 17. Like these kids coming through, and I remember watching them, and I was just saying to myself in my head, I was going, "Wow, man, look at these guys, man! Like oh man, I wish I had his talent, man. He's so fast, he's, and I just remember I just had this light bulb moment, and for me, it was like, man, I'm not them, I am not them. Yeah, I'm me, and for me, it was I get that man in the mirror moment where I had to actually look myself and go, actually, what is your strengths? Like what can you contribute to this team? And I remember, I've been saying, man, I know that I can run hard and I can tackle hard. And I just remember I said, man, I'm just going to build my career on those two things.
You did well too, Gus. You did well too on there on those things as well. When did you go there as a back, or did you go there as a forward, or they didn't know?
Yeah, as a forward, definitely as a forward. I was super overweight too when I went over there, and I had to drop a lot of weight. Again, relearn how to play rugby league again, because it's playing in Australia, like it's totally different system, and but again, when you got guys like Craig Gow at the time, Ryan Gerla, Preston Campbell, Gowie, and again, Luke Predis, like these guys are seasoned professionals, and you there's that saying, right? You are who you hang out with.
Iron sharpens iron, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I was, slowly, especially Luke Predis, man, love Predo. He's just such a humble champion, and he's, just tell me little things, again, like it was kind of like Hugh and Mook's echoing again, like those things, and I wasn't realized, like, oh man, like, and he was really patient, he's like, he would tell me things as well. I hate listening, try, tinker with this, or do this differently, so like, and a lot of that footy IQ that was around, like Gerds and like all these guys, like it was, I would have been stupid not to sit there and at their feet and learn, and so like I said, like that environment for me, like just really kick-started this, this new, I guess, new journey, this new me, so.
Yeah, you spoke on your wife, brother, a lot, and like obviously, how was she through the process? Brother, obviously, he's 25 years deep now, brother. Like she must have been, your backbone, even though she went back home. Like be hard to not to do without her too. Would you say?
I try not to be emotional about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because but she was just the rock for me, like, and she was dealing with her own stuff, man. Like we were just kids, like in our 20s, like just trying to figure our life out, and then we're just thrown into the deep end, and like just living in Australia, trying to raise a kid, trying to adapt, and so we were figuring our relationship out, and like, so it was all these things that we were just talking about it the other day, like with the journey has been so, like, it was so crazy, but it's been so rewarding, and I'm so glad that we got to grow up together through it all, and like I've known her since I was 11 years old, we went to school together.
Cheers.
Let's go. So she knows me inside and out, and so and I think I really needed someone like that as well, that just knew how I thought, she was, that they really kind of brought us together as, as a couple, and, continues to, and, life's, even at, the stage of our life, life's still not easy,
and now, hey?
No, we're still learning, still growing, and so there's, all these, I'm so grateful for her, so.
What's wife's name? Or we don't have to say her name if you don't want to on there.
Maybell.
Yeah, shout out to Maybell. Yeah, that's it. Let's go. Legend.
Hope she listens to this, then get extra some extra credit.
There's another some brownie points, cuz.
Hey, sorry, I've got to charge my.
Yeah, do you think?
No,
Do you think?
sorry, this.
No. Do you think? Do you think?
No, sorry, the batteries just.
Safest.
Yep.
All good.
Good.
Safe. Yeah, Penrith though was what a journey, eh? But I'd like to come from Barakat Cup to overweight to neck minute, man in the mirror, and then seeing these young fellas and thinking, hey, I wish I had this. No. Let me just focus. What can I do good? And you figure out what those are, and you run the ball hard and tackle hard to get to that point. Did you know you were going to get a premiership that year, or nah? Or was it
no. It was like I think we lost our first 5 games or something. Like we were going terrible, and I think we won against the Roosters, and I think that's kind of where the belief started.
Yeah.
So we just started getting on this, on this wave, winning
defending
games.
champ Roosters at the time too, eh? Defending champs, the Roosters were at the time.
Yeah, and I think for us, probably gave us a boost of confidence. To I think it was a back and forth game from what I can remember. So so I think that kind of gave us belief in terms of just being a resilient team, not giving up. That's not to say that changed everything. I think we lost a few more games, but then we just went on this run, and just the belief. I think everything that was probably building up from when I got there, and then when Johnny Lang came, it just kind of culminated in, on this amazing run that we had, and then all the potential, all the things just aligned to where, and especially out in Penrith, when you're winning, and it's like a religion out here, rugby league.
Yeah.
People,
You still always.
Still live in Penrith, man. I was like, 20 plus years, So this
It's home now, eh, brother? Yeah,
now. So again, it's such a religion out here, and it's probably equivalent to what the Wars are doing now in Auckland, man. It's
after
Wars, yeah, man. It's it's like that, everyone that's in New Zealand listening to this will probably understand the feeling and what it's like here in Penrith. There's, so when you got the community support behind you, just I remember walking to shops and everyone's going, go the Panthers, whatever
all those.
The sounds they make at the game, and
they must be making a few the last 4 or 5 years, nearly. Jeez, been going out because it's too much, and well deserved, might I say too. Shout out to the boys. I'm not of that ilk that goes, be humble. I mean, really, they're just saying shut up. You know what I mean? If you want them to shut up, we'll shut them up then. Go and win. Shout out to the boys, man.
I know they're an amazing team. We just went on this awesome run, and then just the belief, you just it's hard to articulate it, that feeling, but you just get this confidence and you just vibing off each other, and there's just it's everything's just clicking, and and just that belief grew, and then just watching guys that had potential, but again, the word just like myself that weren't fulfilling that, but then seeing that come to fruition, like the Reece Westers, the scores, the tries he was scoring that year, and then Tony just
Beast.
rampages down, and then Presto as well, and then you've got 2 Lukes on the wings, doing amazing things and scoring, like that back three scoring, a million tries between them, so it was just and then you had had our general like Gowie, just playing tough, and then then Luke Prittis as well, just the conductor in the ruck, so you just just all these things, and Marty Lang, Joel Clennons as well, man, just doing all the tough work, and then then off the back of that we get all the chocolates, just doing all the all the pretty stuff at the edges, and then we had some really awesome young guns too on the bench, like Shane Rodleys, Trent Waterhouses, Ben Ross, Luke Swain, so he had all these, had a good mixture of youth, again, seasoned veterans, and
the right combo, including the hair, including the hair as well.
What was doing horrible. Always doing
what was that color? Was that like you trying to go blonde, or was that your actual color?
Honestly,
what's going on there?
The boys still mock me now, man. The boys still mock me now. Okay. So when I started growing my hair, I think I was either my wife or her hairdresser said, "Oh, hey, listen, man, if Joe wants to come in for a cut, we'd love to give him like a $300 voucher or something like that. Hey, to come and get us." And then I remember going and they said, "Oh, maybe you should put some color in your hair." And I was going, "Oh, man, I'll try it." Oh man, it was probably the worst thing I could do.
I thought you were trying to go for the Mark Hunnels, go for the Super Samoan.
So honestly, it was like, there was a awards night that we attended, and then not only did I dye my hair, but I actually straightened it. Man, and I remember,
especially back in those days. Nowadays, that's all right. These back in the days, good, the boys.
Bro, it's like knocking me hard out. Like, and it was like, I looked like the Samoan Fabio, So honestly, wow, man, honestly, there's pictures that are circulating on, on the internet. So I'll always try to don't show me, So, I'll still get roasted about it now, man. Far out. So.
No, because when I was, I was a kid when it was around, like, and I just remember thinking, Father, bro, I didn't know if it was dyed or not, but I was like, no, is this the bro's hair color?
The funny thing is my older sister, that's her actual natural hair color.
Oh, true.
And then, so when I dyed my hair, we actually looked like twins. And then my family started mocking us. Started mocking me. And I was like, oh man. So it's no good, mate. It's no good.
It's no good. Hey, brother. Well, like you said, bro, that year, what a year, here and all. He's been all the way, brother. What's grand final week like? If you could, do you remember? Or you had a couple, 3 grand finals, eh? You had a couple grand final weeks.
Yeah. That was awesome, mate. Like it's just the hype around it. Especially that first one. Like, man, I had no clue. Me, like you don't realize how big, like an occasion like that is until you're in it. And man, it's it's just awesome. Like as I mentioned, for those in New Zealand, like who are on the Wars bandwagon, or following the Warriors, that
bandwagoners. Hey, where were you when we were mud? Come. No, that's not my brother. Hey, but at least you played for them, cuz. At least you were once a Warrior, brother. Hey.
Yeah, bro. It's like, it's that feeling, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you just, again, like all the things that, that you were trained hard for, and probably extra incentive for me too, coming from what I came from as well, and I always tell the story, like after the grand final when we won, like I remember looking at the clock and it was 2 minutes to go, and I'll get emotional now talking about it, but like I remember I was crying, man, like 2 minutes to go, and like, I know it's like rude of me to think that, but like when you realize you've won the game, like
you got the dub. We got this.
And I remember, man, I was like literally running, like supporting people, but my tears were in my eyes, like, and I just, and I always tell people, like, for me, that moment, man, like I first and foremost, I never thought in a million years that like a young kid like myself from South Auckland, REWA, that will ever be in a position like that to play in front of 80,000 people, let alone win a game, rugby league grand final, and for me, like that was those emotions. But then, like what made it even more special for me was I actually got to look back. I was going, man, people don't realize that 2 years before this, man, I was like, I was, like I remember my CEO, he wrote an article. He goes, like we signed Joe on nothing. He was pretty much eating like, the paint off his walls, that's how poor he was, and honestly, like it was all
true,
that, like I remember, like, man, I was, I'm not not ashamed to say it now. Remember, like at the Panthers, they used to have a kitchen. We have, have all breakfast stuff ready and bread and all that. But I remember I used to sneak some stuff home, man, because that's like, bro, that's how
Hey, gotta
much we
eat
were
us.
struggling, bro.
Gotta eat us. Gotta feed the family, my brother.
It's just like those things, that I think those sacrifices and those times, like, man, like to walk to training, like, so to be in that moment, like, I remember, like, it would have been like 20, 30 minutes after the game, but I was still crying. I remember someone on the commentary team saying, look, Joe Galuvao, look, man, it's 20 minutes, the game's finished, and he's still emotional, and so, but yeah, so like this, that's, that feeling, obviously grand final week, but then to be in a position to win, like, again, it was a real time of reflection for me, to look back and go, oh man, like, and, again, like, I think about the Quintessentials, like all these guys were saying, man, like, hey, again, you reap what you sow, right? And so, to understand at that time, to go, man, like, hey, this is what it actually means to be a professional, and then to be able to reap the successes from that, so.
Oh, that's beautiful, brother. Like you said, time and reflection. I think perspective's everything, and you could look outside and see a beautiful sunshine, and some people might look outside to see a dirty window, or others might sit in the window and say that sun's burning me. So I think perspective is everything, brother, and to have that perspective to look back on the whole journey with with wifey and your baby at the time and all that, to go through that and to be standing there top of the mountain, what everyone wants to do. So I can understand, man. I think understand that you'd be emotional, brother. And I remember that I was only like 11 years old, 12 years old when it happened, but I remember you being emotional. Obviously I didn't understand that part of it, and I'm only young, but makes sense, cuz 100 and good on you, brother. Fucking
thank you.
Okay.
I thought, special, man. And it's something I'm always grateful for, so.
Yeah. And shout out to the Penrith, the CEO and them, for signing you for nothing while you're eating the paint off your walls too, brother. Shout out to the bro, whoever they are, and all the boys. And because I just it's awesome, brother. Awesome to hear. And obviously, another 2 years? Another 2 years there at Penrith.
Yeah, another 2 years, and I think for me, I kind of, for being honest, like I kind of again got kind of caught up in my own hype.
Okay.
It was kind of this pattern of behavior, and I just kind of like I wasn't doing the things that I wasn't supposed to. Like it got me to that point, and so. And then obviously there was some contractual stuff as well. Like a lot of us that 03 team, like, a lot of us were just part-timers, but to make a grand final, obviously your value goes up, and then, so when it comes to, the next round of negotiations, obviously that, there's going to be, not everyone's going to fit under the cap, right? And and you want to get paid what you're worth, and so all that as well gets played into that, and so that's kind of spent 2 years. Like we missed out on the grand final 2004. We went, we probably a game away 04, lost to the reigning premiers of 2004, the Canterbury Bulldogs. So we lost to them in the grand final qualifier, and then. The second 2005. That's kind of where again all the negotiations about re-signing, and that's kind of where I was on the
Bunnies
from there. So off to the Bunnies.
Yeah. How were the Bunnies then? Were they any good then? I can't remember, because the Bunnies came out of some. I just remember the Bunnies were pretty trash before. They're like just not good, for a long time. So when they come back in the comp,
the Bunnies, you can't remember the Bunnies, then there's a reason for that. Like, it was, it was probably it was a real club that was struggling, and it was just like wasn't a good time or good environment at the time. But that first year that I was there,
were you going from Penrith back out to? Were you going from Penrith out there too?
Yeah, I was traveling. Yeah, so I did every club that I went to. I just stayed put in Penrith and I just traveled. Yeah, so so yeah, traveling into the city. Yeah, it wasn't a good environment. Then I think the following year, my second year there, I signed for 3. So second year, that's kind of where Russell Crowe kind of came in, and those rumors and stuff came, around him taking over, and yeah, and it was awesome. You could see that they, his vision for the club, and wanting to, take it to a different, obviously to change it into a successful organization, and part of that was making some hard calls, and yeah, unfortunately for me, that was, I was part of that as well. It wasn't good, and again, wasn't playing my best football as well, and again, I'll got no one else to blame other than myself, and obviously there's politics that play in the rugby league, but and contracts and all that type of stuff, and that was probably one of the worst contractual issues that I had was when I was at the Rabbits, and so yeah, that was a really tough time for me.
And so how does it work? Did they cut you? Did they cut you and pay you some of the because you still had another year to go, right? Or did they?
So yeah, well, I guess this is how I guess the dark side of rugby, right? Especially contract negotiations, and and when they want to get rid of you, they'll do anything they can to make it as uncomfortable as possible. And and at the time, they actually was flying me to Queensland, so I was playing up in the Queensland competition.
Oh, true.
Because I it's well documented, in terms of there's a lot of new stuff that was coming out at the time, and I had probably that 2007 year. It was probably the fittest I've been, the best I've
True
felt.
ever.
It was like I said, Russell, and there was this real overhaul of the club, and that meant coaching staff and SNC and all that. So had these new trainers, and I responded really, really well to the training. And like I said, I got down. Man, I was probably the lightest I've ever been. I was probably the fittest. So in terms of my commitment to the club, I was good, man. But the coach at the time, Jason Taylor, and the powers that be, to really, see value in me, so which that hurt at the time, and they try to pretty much make it as uncomfortable as I could, to make me leave, on my own accord. So that meant me flying up to Queensland, so I was playing up at Brisbane East, and
how does that work? Because are you training up there too, or how does it work? Or just going to play games?
I'll just play. So I'll go up the captain day before, do captain's run, and then just play. And I knew what the club was doing, but I believed in myself that much, I said, no, I'll stick it out. And, even though it was so hard, I was pretty much traveling every week, so you've been away from your family, but for me, I'm one of those, and this is, I guess, part of my journey. And the one thing is that I really believe in is that whatever jersey you give me, I'll give it 100%. And so I remember going up to Brisbane East. I remember the coach at the time. He knew what was happening. And I remember him coming up to me and he goes, "Oh, hey Joe, listen, just the fact that you're here, man, people, a lot of the boys will learn from you." And I knew what he was saying, and I remember just stopping him mid sentence, and I said, "Hey coach, just so you know, I want you to know that whatever jersey that I get, I'm gonna give that jersey 100%." And for me, the reason why I approach things that way is because there's only things that I can only control, and control the things that I can control. And some things that I could control was my attitude. And I guess this whole journey character-wise that I was in, and that kind of came to the fore around that period, and just for me it was like, man, there's not much that you can control in life other than how you apply yourself and your attitude. And so I kind of took that into that period, and because for me is that when and if the time comes when I get caught up, like, you know, and if I'm not ready, I've got no one else to blame but myself, right? You know what I mean? And, you know, for me, and I've seen so many, you know, during my career at the time, I saw so many guys that get dropped, you know, they're kicking stones and, you know, like, and for me, I just didn't want to do that. You know, I was getting, like, I didn't want to be like that first grader, you know, that
Good on you,
gets
brother.
dropped down, you know, so, but I'm not saying did I do it perfect? No, 100% I didn't, you know, but that was
Gave
just
it
my
all,
mentality. Yeah, and that was my mentality, and you know, it got me through that period. And but it got to a point where, you know, like I said, being away from my family, you know, I just said it's not tenable for us, you know. So I just said, well, just pull the pin and you know, just see where the next horizon, you know, horizon is, and you know, and that's kind of where I ended up at Para. So 2000, yeah.
Yeah, and on Para, obviously you end up going to another grand final off the back of you know, just a magical an on-field display from Jared, and obviously, you know, he's obviously had a team to build around.
Yeah.
What do you think made like him special as a player?
Oh man, I think his talent's undeniable. You know, like just the things he could do, and the funny thing about like Hazy and even like the Kristen Inus and those guys, like all those stuff that you see them doing on the field, but they're doing stuff like that at training. You know, like they're like just so talented. You know, just you just go, you can't be this talented. Like, you know, that's you know, and so for us when he was doing that stuff like on the field and I guess '08 for us too was like, you know, that was kind of like a terrible year, you know. Yeah. And it was kind of like, I felt like when I was at South the first year, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, just no stability, losing games, you know, so it was just kind of in this downward spiral. And then I was actually, funny enough, I didn't play much first grade that year in '08 at Para. But I was made a reserve grade grand final and we won it. So with Wentworthville, so it was pretty awesome to play. And I think what I loved about 2008 was obviously I had a tough time when I was at South, but when I went back and played reserve grade, like I just had this love for the game. And the team that we had at the time was cracker. Like it was James Maloney, he was the halfback. You know, Jeremy Lattimore,
let's see.
Like Justin Horro.
Oh, did you win against Did you win against old what's it called? It was Anthony Cherrington in that team.
I think so. Oh, I can't remember.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so that was the '08. So that was we played the game before the Manly Melbourne game, the 40-0 game that they played. So,
40-0, no camps off. Yeah.
So you know, and so for me to finish that year off winning the grand final, a reserve grade grand final, like just you know, I guess reignited like a passion I had for the game. You know, and just you know, I like it was like I was back at REWA playing with the boys. You know, like you know, no pressure, you know, you just, and like, and it was awesome. And then, '09 came around and then obviously changed the coach and then, Daniel Anderson took over. And,
up the was Daniel Anderson. But what made him like good as a coach? Because a lot of coaches are ex-players or whatever. Like he wasn't an like gun player. And what made him so good as a coach, brother?
I probably saw Ando at two stages of career because when he went to the Warriors, that was his first coaching appointment, you know, and I guess my perception of him at the time, like I just thought he just didn't like me, you know, and and he come from the what's his name? I forgot the coach was. Okay, but he was like. He was a very technical coach, probably one of the best technical coaches that I've been under.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but like again, my perception of him at the time was that he was just very cold, you know, and not, you know, he was not a genuine person. And again, that's just my own perception of him, and a lot of it probably stemmed from what I was going through too at the Warriors at the time when that whole, you know, so there was all that. So that probably played into that. But so when Ando came in 09, like he had, taken the Warriors to, taking the Warriors to grand final in 2002, and they had a lot of success. Then obviously we didn't go. So it was kind of like a full circle moment for both of us. Because I remember him saying to me, because he must have read a article that I wrote. Also, article, sorry, that
You quoted it.
Yeah. What I was similar was that so part of that fallout, I just thought that Daniel Anderson and them didn't want me. So that was my perception, like, of them. And I remember him actually confronting me about it. And he goes, "Listen, Joe, just to kind of clear the air, like, we actually wanted to keep you, So, and I was going, "Oh, really?"
Oh,
like,
true.
Yeah. So again, again, just going back to, I guess, that point in regards to, the player agents and, the wolves and sheep's clothing and things that, and just that whole period, so for Ando to say, hate to say to me at the time, because no, we really wanted you to stay. Like, I was going, but yeah, so that was cool. Like, so we kind of ended our relationship.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, and so from there, like I said, he was a different coach too. I think, he probably was a lot more relaxed. I think being a first time coach, he was kind of a bit
intense at the start.
Intense and that, but yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of took away from that time that I was with Ando. It was like he's a lot more relaxed and crack a joke and that, and I think so it was cool, and I think he was able to come bring everyone together and get the best out of the guys, and especially guys like Hainsey and that was one thing that I remember fondly about that time. So
and obviously you ended up playing in the grand final, brother, as well. That year, as we spoke on, 2009 being. Do you actually, they have the grand final munch? Do you actually have a feed or nah? Because you've been in a few. The grand final luncheon or breakfast or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I remember going to a breakfast, and then went to a lunch. You sit down and eat, but a lot of it's just for, like, again, for the, I guess, the aesthetic of having that, formalities and aesthetics of having the grand final teams, and you eat there, but it's not like, man, we look at the food and go, "Hey, did you guys chop the rest of the food on the way in?" So guys like fui fui moi moi. He goes, "What's the rest of my food?" Like. So those events are not like
they're just aesthetics.
Like, like buffet at Manukau or something like that. So
Wait, just on the toko. What's the toko like? What was he like? Fui fui.
But crack up to you, but there's so many myths going around about it, man. So and I obviously played against him, but to play with him, oh man. Honestly, the best times, honestly, with those guys was actually sitting on the locker and just listening to him and Eric Griff Jr. Bro.
Oh, true.
Go back and forth and talk to each other. Honestly, oh man, I just sit there and just piss myself laughing, man. Sorry, they just, man, just.
What do you mean? Would they be arguing or just conversating?
Nah, just conversation, man. Just giving it to each other, like. And then obviously his English is not the best, but and he was funny as, man. But like, we had the biggest heart, man. Like, that was the one thing, just just lit up the room, just like, he's such a cool dude, man. So on top of being an awesome player as well.
Yeah, what a weapon! What a weapon! And but was he still playing? Was he still playing now, or was he still playing last year?
I think the man's still playing, man.
What a weapon! Fui.
Yeah.
What a guy! Yeah, if you had to buy all of Nuku Alofa soon, better. Fui. Obviously, you go from para and then onto Manly, brother. Is that a smooth transition, or was it sort of?
Yeah, it was kind of like Penrith all over again. Kind of like, so again, a lot of us said that Parramatta side in 09, like, again, a lot of us were part-timers, and then so myself, like Todd Lowry, Kevin Kingston, like, so when we go to negotiate the following year, like there's pretty much no money for us, because like the players that they had signed like on multiple year deals the year prior, like they pretty much took up most of the salary cap. So and a lot of us, especially me, I was on an incentive-based contract, meaning in 09, meaning like I was getting paid to play. On top of my, I'll get bonuses. Like I've got a base salary, but where like most of my money potential I would earn was what if I play in first grade. So that's kind of where my value went up, and all that money you accrue over that year goes to the salary cap the following year. So so again I was kind of in the outer like I was close to actually pretty much going to give it away at 30, and and I remember my manager at the time, I say it was like no one was knocking at the door, to sign me.
Oh, true.
And then I remember,
even though you just played in the grand final in it too.
There would have been interest, but like none that like that fell in my lap.
Yeah.
And then I remember like it was pretty late too. Was when my manager goes, "Hey, listen, something's come through. Not sure if you're keen on it, but what are your thoughts on Manly?" And out of all the clubs, like Manly was probably the last club to play. Legit, like I just thought, man, this is the last club that I thought would like it. And in a way, I was going, Northern Beaches, like for those of us in Sydney, when we think about the people out in the Northern Beaches or live out in the out in the coast, had all the hippie, so we had this sort of perception of
compared to Western Sydney too, and even the distance takers.
Like I'm just going, man, I'm from the west, like only water we see is in the Penn River or the pools, like that's, so and so that's so when I actually thought about it, I was going, and I thought about that team too, like they're pretty much a grand final team there, and and for me, like I was going, oh man, like, there's no way. I guess my perception was that going there was I just thought I was just going to be one of the just the old footy guys, just fill in here and there, and be the guy play reserve grade and help the young kids come up. So that was my perception when I went there. And then I remember being with Des for the first time, and man, it was crazy. So for those that don't know, like contrary to what people think about Des and what they see on TV,
what's he like, brother? Tell us about this.
He's definitely a mad mathematician, but very analytical type of person. But I remember going into meeting with him, and I remember went into the boardroom. He greeted me, and then he put up this presentation, and then he was going, "Hey, Joe, just then, like, hey," and then he started going through like all these stats, and he goes, "Oh, these are your stats from the last few years," and I was going, "What?" I was going, "Oh," he goes like, "Oh, you've done these tackles, and and just breaking the game right down," and then I was going. And then he just started, "Hey, I think," and then he started projecting, he was going, "Oh, I think that through our training, we can get you this, this, this." And I was going, he goes, "Oh, I just think that we've got the right people here to coach you, to train you." Donnie Singe, who was the head trainer at the time, proud Māori man, he was like,
up the Māoris.
Right. And so if you Google Donnie Singe, bro, he's just this little Māori man, bro, but holds so much mana, man, and like, and he, remember Dad said to me, he goes, "Oh, I reckon you'll really get along with Donnie. I think he can really get the best out of you." But for me, like there was probably two takeaways that I went away from that meeting. Like, first one was like, man, like just the belief that he had in me, like the belief that like he said to me, he goes, "Listen, if you apply yourself, man, you can make this team." And I was going, "Oh man," just so the belief. But then second, like, and that's
Donnie, is there Wilson just dead or what? Or was
his uncle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, funny story about Wilson, but that's for later. But but yeah, there's yeah, bro. Honestly, I would have signed for $1, man. Like that's just how
Yeah,
much I left that meeting going, oh, man. Like I just felt so, it made me feel so that belief. I was going, oh man, and this is like again, you think about that manly side too. I was going, oh man. So, and then the second one was always like, man, like I'll regret it if I don't sign. I was going, man, like that's for me. Like I was just, man, if I don't, man, 10 years, like 5 years now, like if I say, oh, I could have played with under Des, or I could have played with the Stewart boys, I could have played with Jamie
yeah,
Lyon,
yeah,
Steve,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like,
Even better,
or I could have,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Matsai, like, like for me, like that was the thing. I was going, oh, I don't want to be those guys 5 years, and I was like, I could have, played with, I could have played with them.
Got to
So
play
that
with a
was that
killer.
second,
Yeah,
yeah, right. And so that's pretty much the two reasons why I signed. And but it was amazing, man. Like that, probably one of the best clubs that we've ever been a part of, man.
yeah,
Like this is like I remember I was talking to Kale Luluai.
yeah,
He
yeah. The
so
big man.
Kale, he was the big man. He was there. So he was one of the first people that I messaged about, hey bro, I'm looking at signing at Manly. What are your thoughts? He goes, bro, you're a great recruiter. That's what he said to me. And I
Oh,
was going,
true.
oh,
Oh man.
and yeah. And so bro, from the very time that I met everyone, but it was like, but I knew them for life, and they're such,
Yeah,
bro, like in me and Skivvy, like, man, we became real close. And then, but just the boys are awesome, man. Like the Steel boys, bro,
yeah.
Jamie Lyon Killer, bro, honest,
Yeah.
he's a crack up, dude,
Is
honestly,
he? Greg
bro,
Gobles.
bro,
Bro, what made him so cool? Because, like, you look at the bro, they look like much, and holy rick, yeah, just a weapon.
He's got the worst dad bod, like, obviously he's one that
100 cuss.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
it's like people when they think about Cameron Smith, like man, they look at it just
Yeah.
looks unassuming, and I was going, oh, bro, the accountant, but it was like killer, man. You just go, like, oh, yeah, bro. He drives his Ute into, bro. He doesn't drive a Ferrari or anything like that, bro. He drives his Ute
That'd be
into
fresh.
training, bro.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, just this kid from REWA, like, bro,
Yeah,
out in
yeah,
some
yeah.
regional area, like. But just real down to earth. But man, when you see him with any type of footy, and like cricket ball, soccer ball, bro, and then you see him train, you just go, wow, bro, amazing. And then just their intelligence, like their footy IQ,
Mm.
man, like
Off the
just
charts.
bro, neck level, like and just like the Stewart boys in particular, man. Wow, those guys are the mad scientists, man. Like they just.
Yeah.
Man, they're doing so much video, and they're coming like concocting up little plays and stuff like that. And then, bro, you just go, just the culture there too was amazing, man. Like it was being Jamie Berra, who I work with at the RPA now. Like we were talking about
Yeah.
this the other day, like our cricket days, man. That you live for cricket days, like because it was just just our team bonding, and it was, bro, it's just. But it's not even about cricket. It's just the bonding
Just
session,
the vibes, eh?
Vibes, man. It was awesome, man. Anyone that was part of Manly and they talk about cricket day, man, they'll probably have as big a smile as I do, because it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, so not only was it the club in terms of the footy and being successful, but just the culture there, and.
Yeah.
I was saying this to Isaiah last year actually, because I've been a parent for the last 3 years. And I
You
was
still
saying
there now?
no, I
Okay.
left in
Okay.
December to take
Okay.
up this role at the RPA.
Oh yeah,
So
solid.
yeah, and I was saying to Isaiah, I was going, man, this Penrith team remind me heaps of Manly, and I
True.
just because there's not many teams you could say around that era as well, like that 2011, 2009, 11, 8, 2008 to 2013, that you could say that other than Melbourne Storm, that like most of their top 17 had been at the club 10 years or more. You couldn't really say that about any other club, and like, and why I say that is because like just the players built their culture there, they drove the standards, they drove the culture, they like me and Jamie Brewer, we were talking about this, when he came into grade 2010 when I was there, he was just a rookie. But I remember he was saying, I remember I was a rookie, and then Stevie Matsai goes, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" He goes, "No, you're coming to my house. We're having drinks at my house, And so, but that was the culture, It was just they just made you feel so welcome, And so I was just saying to Yowie last year, I was like, "Brad, that's what Penrith making. It reminds me heaps of it, because again, all 24 of their top 30 have come through their systems,
That's crazy, brother?
Yeah, bro, crazy. And so their culture is built within, So they've been, since 17, 19s, 21s, like, that culture's been reinforced. So, and again, and they drive the standards, and that's what makes their club so successful along, not only from their technical skill and just how fit they are, but just they drive the standards there at Penrith. And, and that's what I was saying to Yowie, that's, and just the accountability they have for each other as well. They challenge each other, hey, and which is rare. Again, and that type of stuff is rare, where you can be at a club and the accountability and the transparency that they have, that they can challenge each other and say, hey, this, and everyone just goes, oh, yeah, no, you're right. How can we improve? So that, all that, I guess that's, in reflection of my time at Penrith the last 3 years, and then having played at Manly, so there's that.
It obviously works, brother? And shout out to the fish, bringing a bit of that culture to the wilds. The fish. What a beast, eh? Now, what's he like? Because you obviously spent a little bit of time around him last 3 years. Fish, is he a pretty quiet fella, is he? Or
well, I mentioned Donnie Singe about mana, right? And that's what fish is. You know what I mean? Like, if you got mana, bro, you don't need, and everyone knows, again, especially in the Penrith system, that he doesn't have to say much in order to, but what I will say about Fish is that he's, I guess one of, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, like he was probably someone that, he had that mana, but probably didn't have, he was a leader, but I just thought there was probably more in him that he could give, and so over the last few years, and you can go on YouTube and YouTube. So I kind of drove a lot of our Pacifica initiatives within the club.
Okay,
so you can go and Google.
The man to do it, brother.
Yeah, and I've been doing that for a long period of time, in different roles and different capacities within the game. But one of the things that because like 50% of our playing group within the NRL are Pacifica and Māori, and that's even higher in Penrith. Like so, that so like that was, I guess, was filling that hole within the Penrith club. They got great culture, but I guess from a cultural competency and a cultural knowledge and acknowledgement, like say again that being able to celebrate the Pacifica contribution within the Panthers club. Like we got the Brian To'os, the Jerome Ways, like Stephen Crichton, like all these guys and Taylor May, like Isaac Tango, so all these guys. So again, another Moses, so all these guys. So one of the things that I thought that I could contribute to the club was, hey, about again celebrating the Pacifica cohort of our players, but also being able to educate and bring a bit of culture within to the club, and so you can love for you to go on YouTube. So 2002 and 2003 we had our Pacifica showcase, and so part of that, I guess, and going back to how I ran this back to Fish was, one thing that I know what Fish is passionate about. Obviously, he's passionate about footy, but the one thing he's most passionate about is his culture. And so, especially if you go watch last year's one, when we did the first one, if you go watch our 2003 cultural showcase, I wanted to use that as a platform for him to, to really lead. And like, man, because it was something he was passionate about, like, he didn't blink an eyelid, he just said, yeah, well, what can I do? And I said, listen, what do you want to do? So from there, he was just slowly discovering, his identity as a Māori person. He was taking, te reo classes online, so
Oh,
and slowly incorporating that within his interviews, and
yeah.
so
And
these are
that
all
great
these things.
speech at the end of the shellacking
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
kangaroos.
yeah.
So shout out to Joe Galuvao, really. I think we'll just
Nah,
give the brother Joe Galuvao his flowers. Let's get okay,
no,
too
but
much.
I'm one of many people that have been pioneering this space. Like the Nigel Wanganas that have gone before me. That were
Up the notch.
so the John Hutchinsons of the world, like so all these guys that have been planting these seeds before me. And like I'm just again help watering that, and and I'm hoping that again the fishes, these guys will start taking that, start. And the whole point of it is, like, again, from a well-being perspective, is about our boys having pride in who they are. Regardless of where they come from, whether they may be Aussie, Balangi, Pakeha, your identity is a big part of who you are and contributes to your well-being. And if you're happy with your life, and you're looking after all these different aspects of your life from a well-being perspective, that will translate. There's a correlation between that and success on the field. So that was a big part of that as well. Was for our club to celebrate, the Pacifica contributions. Like this year, I helped with Frank Blitzel. We co-designed the Pacifica jersey for cultural, multicultural for the Penrith Panthers, and so all that ties into the club's identity and to Pacifica players, but also its community, the surrounding areas in Penrith, where we've got a big population of Pacifica Māori. So, so there was all that attached to it. So, so that's, helping. And Fish last year won the inaugural Pacifica Leadership Award. I got Kiwi captain last year,
what a performance,
right,
grand.
I guess the takeaway from this is, and again, it's not about me, but it's the fact that, if we can empower, if we can help guide people and empower people, just like the Qs did in my life, the Quintessentials, like, and finding ways to empower others, because that's the succession plan. Because if you keep it to yourself, like, where does it go? You know what I mean? Like, there's no legacy in that. And part of our culture is, again, how do you pass that knowledge down, or through, or or to, and so that's a big part of the work that I've been doing within our Penrith. And then so.
Beautiful stuff there, brother. That's awesome and amazing. Just obviously before we get out of here, I got a couple of questions, but I just wanted to finish speak on the Manly grand final. What's that like after all of the ups and downs? It was like, you like you said, you debut young buck warrior fullback, then end up in the Barakat Cup, think the club doesn't want you, you're off, you know what I mean? Whatever happens, end up at Penrith, back at the bottom again, work your way back up, win a premiership, and then go through all of these ups and downs. You'll fly into Queensland while you hit the Rabbitohs, and then you're winning a reserve grade comp. And then with then you're off to Parramatta, you get another grand final, don't win, but you're amongst you at the end where everybody wants to be. And then again, you come to this club with this great culture, Manly, and you get to play in another grand final against your old club. Sort of a full circle moment, could you say, in a way?
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, there's and I've seen a lot of my presentations that I've done with at other events where most people see the success, not everyone sees the journey, and like anything, like you starting this party or anyone else that's doing something meaningful within their lives, right? There's they just see, sometimes they just see the final product, but they don't see they don't see and it's most of the time it's your it's your close circle, right? That see that, and they're the ones that are most emotional for you, most proud of you because they've seen you. So for me, like that's what I'm most proud of is that, is that through it all, like, and I think the journey for me through my footy career and looking back, and again, I speak about it a lot, is it's been a personal journey for me. Like it's been a character journey for me, and it still is a character journey for me. I'm by no means finished, by no means not, growing and learning and making mistakes, yada yada yada. But that's, looking back at that part of my life, it was rugby league has been a real teacher for me, and about being resilient and not giving up and all the cliches you can pull out of pull out the hat when it comes to overcoming stuff, right? And I like to think that if people are listening to this, like that's an encouragement to them, and no matter what you are, what industry you are, and whatever stage in life you are, that probably everyone's kind of seen that meme. I hope I can explain it, articulate it well, where when people think about success, they see that that meme where it goes, oh, they feel like it's a straight line.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So but that's, man, there's no linear, road to success, but it's full of ups and downs, and hopefully through what I've been able to share, like that, people can see that, like maybe. But what keeps you going is the goal, right? And the goal is success, but the goal for me is actually being better. Be a better person. That's don't by any means try to be like deeply meaningful, like, but that's for me personally, like that's that's been my journey, the inward journey, and the outward success, I guess, is is a direct consequence of all the work that I've been doing inwardly. So.
Yeah, hard byproduct of all the mahi you've done over the years internally, for sure. Ah, beautiful, brother. So what is your actual role at the RLPA? Can we talk about that or quickly before?
Yeah, definitely. So I am in a new program. So it's called the Past Players and Transition Program. So essentially, it's any players that have retired out of the game or are in different periods of transition. So whether it be uncontracted, gone to Super League, playing cup, or so we basically support those players, and it's and just giving them the resources to help them transition out. The reason why this kind of came about, and this is it speaks to, I guess, those who have played professionally in any sport, like in terms of when they retire out of the game, like it's actually can be quite confronting and scary, and like I played 15 years, rugby league was probably my first job, coming out of the game, like, and I was lucky that I kind of prepared as best I could, I kind of fumbled my way, but and I've there's a lot of sad stories and horror stories, players finishing up from the game of rugby league, and and again, I love what the sport has given me, but there's this part of when they finish up where hey, they just spat out and fend for yourself, and and a lot of reasons for that. But again, this whole reason why this program came about off the back of last year's CBA negotiations was the current playing group recognized that they need to be more supported when they finish up. So so that's kind of so the beauty about this program, and it's funded by the players. So it's not the game. So part of the money that's allocated to the players in terms of their revenue share, the players again identified the areas that they
pain points,
they wanted to improve, and so this money or this program is run by them. So
that's cool. That's real powerful.
Again,
That's manna, brother. That's manna,
again, and that, again, it's just shout out to our current cohort of players that who have made a stand for players. Not just again, and it's for all the players that gone before me and for them that struggled. And like I wish we had a program like this when I finished up. Then I probably wouldn't have struggled as much, or whether it be employment or career transition, or just all the psychological aspects of transitioning out too, because so much of your identity is tied into the game, especially if you played for however long you've played for. So so that's basically the program in a nutshell. Is that my role as a transition manager is making sure that our players are well supported, and whatever their transition looks like. So
beautiful, my brother. All right, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what do you choose?
Cheese toasties.
Cheese toasties. Let's go. What kind of bread?
I just like multigrain. I like it multigrain.
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 Not the Vogel. Hey, no. The multigrain.
Oh,
solid.
Vogel. Vogel is with Marmite and bread.
Yeah.
You just drown it in butter, toasted the Vogel. Oh man.
Yeah.
Man.
I like it, brother.
That was my snack growing up. So that was a treat too, because Vogel wasn't cheap back in the day. So.
Yeah, hell no. I don't think it's cheap now either, cuz for those prices back home, but holy Rick. Yeah. Up the wires and up the price of food. Holy Rick. Yeah. If you could have one superpower, which one do you choose and why?
Superpower, choosing why. I don't know. That's a hard one. Probably fly, so don't have to pay for flights.
Oh, yeah, solid. You're the fly. I like it. What advice do you have? Just one piece for a player that's going through your situation. They've got all the talent in the world, or like maybe, but they or maybe they're just in that pit. You know how you got that you peak pit. It was like that for you throughout your career. Anybody that's in that mode that's like sort of down, or have you got any advice for those brothers or even sisters out there?
Yeah, I guess I already answered it, like in what I said. Like you can only control what you can control. If you play the victim and you're gonna the blame game, and you think that like that's not gonna help. That's actually not proactive. But being proactive is like, hey, what can I control in this? And majority of the time, it's your effort and your mindset, your attitude towards things. So
man in the mirror, woman in the mirror.
Yeah, 100. Again, it's worked for me. Like and the thing about it is you have to be honest with yourself. Like, and that's the thing. And being honest with yourself is not blaming other people. And be able to. What they say, there's a whole reason why there's one finger pointing at others and then the 4 or 3 pointing back at you, whatever it is. So,
Well, I think Gary Vee says you should probably use your thumb instead of your finger. It was a good one too. People say instead of pointing fingers, should start using thumbs. Because it directly points at you too. But okay. Give me 10 years from now, Joe Galuvao, life. What's it look like 10 years from now?
10 years from now, that I've hopefully made an impact in our community. That I left a legacy of great relationships. That the people that I've been able to help, that they've been able to unearth their potential. Being a good father still, good husband, and having more grandkids. So.
Yeah, up the papa. Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, my brother, time's the most valuable commodity we have as human beings, because the one thing we can never get back, we can always get back money, we can always make more money, we can always make more things, but we never get back time. Time spent is time lost. So thank you for sharing this time that you could have been spending with your grandbaby, brother, with your son, with your daughters, with your beautiful wife, brother. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it also. And much love to wifey, The Rock. Hey?
Thank you. So,
And hopefully one day also, this doesn't have to be the last time we catch up, and maybe we can have a cheese toasty someday.
100%.
Whauso. Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes. So to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out.
Oi, have you hit the link in bio yet?
Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms.